All right, so we are here for another Movement Pod. It's March 25th. Usually that's your line, Justin, but
No, you're taking over.
I'm taking over
You're the
today.
host.
I'm the host today because of the topic. It is definitely not my strong suit, and I think I'm going to have a lot less to say than these two fine gentlemen are. But we have a new guest on the show, one of our Kairos from the movement here, Tyler Morrow. Say hi to the camera, Tyler.
Hello. Happy to be here.
Beautiful. So yes, the main topic of the show today is golfing, and we're gonna dive into a bunch of different areas with that. But before we do, I have the most important question of all: what's your handicap?
8.
Right now, probably like 25.
Okay, yeah. That sounds. I was just gonna say.
I don't actually believe Tyler's. He probably on everything that I know about him and nothing about his golf game, probably 16.
Okay.
If we did a few more rounds into the season, for sure. That's right.
Your handicap is your top 8 of your 20 rounds. So you had 20 rounds in the bag, you'd be at 16.
Yeah, that is true. It's just the consistency over the last couple of years, non-existent. So.
Nope. There we go. Yeah, that's fair. I've golfed with you once before, so you know how terrible I am.
Yeah. When you pull those wooden, the actual wooden woods out.
Yeah, that was.
They're like crusty and falling apart.
Yeah. So I didn't have a set of golf clubs at the time. I was using my dad's clubs from back in the 70s.
Yes.
And then he ended up getting a new really fancy set, and I've been using those ever since. But I don't golf enough to be good enough. So.
It's pretty crazy how fast time passes with regard to the clubs you're using. Before you know it, it's oh, that club is 10 years old. Oh, that club is 20 years old, right? And then all of a sudden you're oh, gotta buy more.
Well, we'll probably be able to talk about this in a little bit, but I'm just gonna go there right now. I don't think it's that important. I know that there's some degree of importance on quality of clubs, but there's a lot more to it than that. I think someone can play a good game with some not so good clubs.
You got to be good, but yeah, there's a mix between that. I think
I disagree with respect to the driver.
Okay.
So this was actually a tournament a couple weeks ago. A guy that was in contention, Ludwig Oberg. It showed a super slow-mo of his driver hit way off the toe, and you could actually see the club head kind of rotate because it hit so off center. Pipes it down the middle, 297 yards just down onto the fairway. That's not, you're missing the ball with an old club.
Yeah.
Smaller,
okay, I'm not talking about old crusty woods. I'm talking about maybe a intermediate level driver versus the best of the best, right?
Yeah, if you're within 10 years, it's not going to make a difference unless you're pretty good.
Yeah.
Justin, I'm curious on what your opinion is, but all of my buddies that I golf with, they're obsessed with the stiff shaft. But it's.
What is that? What is that a good comparison to? I'm trying to think of a good analogy. Can't think of one right now, but it's just because, in my personal opinion, people think they need a stiff shaft because that means or indicates that you swing fast. So they want, it's almost like a flex to have a stiff shaft, right?
Totally is, right?
I think you need to, I actually read up on this because I'm kind of borderline stiff versus extra stiff. You need to swing 110 miles per hour club head speed to warrant an extra stiff shaft. I think that most dudes that are 20 to 40 years old probably are fine with a stiff shaft though. You did say stiff, right? Not extra stiff. Yeah. I think that if you have a regular flex, if you just kind of think of the mechanics of it, if it's too bendy when you're swinging hard, it's going to be extra bent when you hit the ball. Club face should be open. You're probably more likely to push the ball.
Yeah.
Right?
Totally.
I think that, most dudes 20 to 40, stiff shaft.
Yeah. I would say I went in reverse to what all my golf buddies did was they probably went more stiff, and some are in that extra stiff category.
Yeah.
And I went back from a stiff to a regular, and I found my drives were way better. But
Do you swing controlled?
I do now. Yeah.
Yeah, that's probably why. Yeah, you don't need to like driver's the only thing that I really swing hard on. The rest, I'm definitely not swinging as hard as I can. But yeah.
Okay, well, I actually think like I was gonna start this off talking about like injuries, like golf injuries, because that's kind of Tyler's area of expertise here. But since we're talking about how stiff the shafts are, I do hanging clubs. Yeah. I think we're gonna skip to the next segment because I wanted to talk about like aspects of golf, whether it's equipment, whether it's somebody's like routine or where they're at, where like golfers think they need this stuff. They think it's really important. How important is it? So like we can talk on both sides of that. Like what do you think is something that's super overrated when someone's like, I need to get good at this or I need to have this in order to have a good game, versus something that not a lot of people talk about and you're like, you should be better at that if you want to be a better golfer. So like I'll get the ball rolling here. I think a big one is people will often talk about like, oh, I need to do more stretching or I need to work on my mobility. That's the area that I'm just going to focus on for this year. Improve my mobility and do a lot more stretching. How much, do you think that that's going to actually affect someone's game if that's what they were just focusing on?
Yeah, it's probably not going to be like the end all be all, right? Like it's not going to improve it that much. And honestly, for most people that are golfing, you almost hope that they even try to do that.
Yeah.
Right? Because a lot of them, like their more go-tos are like, hey, like I need new irons. I need better golf shoes, right? People upgrade their golf shoes every year, right? Or I need that new putter or that new divot fixer, right? Like just so that they look better on the course. So, but yeah, like stretching, mobility, sure, it's great, it's fine and dandy, and it's better than doing like the trunk slam and running over to the first tee. But we got to start prepping like right away, right? Like during the off season and ultimately like if we have a fitness routine leading into the golf season that can help us prepare to perform better on the course, then yeah, that's where we're gonna get the best results.
Yeah. Before I forget, just on the shoes note, I have a funny short anecdote about that. So me and a couple friends, we go to Vegas every single year. We try to get a round of golf in. It's only one round, so not some of us are just like running shoes are fine, whatever. I packed my golf shoes. I had extra space. They've got a little bit more grip. Like running shoes are in general are fine, but one of my friends who brought their running shoes and really made no big deal about it, was just lined up on one of the tee blocks, had a driver in hand, swung out of his shoes, literally went horizontal, and landed on his side, just like. Did you guys see that? Of course we saw that. So that's a funny story in terms of as long as you have golf shoes, it'll help. The type of golf shoes, whatever's comfortable. In terms of the stretching thing, my opinion is that it takes so long to actually gain more flexibility and mobility with the types of drills you can do, if you achieve it at all, right? So it's like, how much time do you have? What is going to be worth the squeeze, right? And what are you going to get bang for your buck out of, right? Like we talked about this today in our meeting about, there's no evidence that stretching helps you recover from a workout. Mm-hmm. That's one of the things that people like talks about a lot, right? Yes, you can get more flexible from stretching and doing mobility drills. You can get increased mobility, and it can help. And I think there's a balance between strength and flexibility and mobility.
Yeah,
I think another point on that too is like stretching and flexibility is so contextual, right? Like if you're sitting there and just doing toe touches to stretch your hamstring out, like how is that gonna help your golf swing at all, right? Like there's zero correlation at all with that, right? So yeah. It might make you feel better in the moment, but that's usually what people are talking about when they're talking about stretching is, I'm going to do a couple toe taps and
if it makes you feel better, do it.
Right? Yeah. But the intent does matter. And like, if you had to talk to me 2 years ago Actually, if you had to talk to me a year ago and asked me, like, should you stretch? I would have been like, it's dumb. Don't do it. There's no point. But, like, the more I kind of look into it, there is definitely some value to it depending on what you're trying to achieve. You have to do it for a lot longer than you think. You have to load up your tissues a lot more than you think. And so sometimes I think you'll probably get more bang for your buck by just doing some strength training and actually like focusing on your range of motion, as opposed to, like you said, sitting on the floor trying to touch your toes while you're, for 30 seconds while you're watching a commercial or something. I don't think that's going to help that much. But also, like, some of the mobility and the stretching might help you gain a little bit more mobility, but I don't know how much that's actually going to help your game. Like, unless you're consistently like, yeah, I feel stiff here, maybe that'll open things up a bit. But from like a performance standpoint, I don't know what is that going to improve your performance by, like 0.5%, 1%? We don't know.
Performance mostly will come from accuracy, right? And like, when I think of what I could gain in range of motion, I think about thoracic rotation, and that really just comes down to distance, right? It still doesn't necessarily help you hit the ball straight, and like, if you're trying to score low, you want to hit the ball straight, and I don't think stretching mobility has a big influence on that.
If anything, I try to reduce my range of motion. We talked about that controlled swing. Like, I'm trying to, especially at the start of the season, like I'm going like maybe 75%, and then you gradually build it up throughout the rest of the season. Yeah. And as I build more comfort and try to build up my club head speed, right?
I think people would probably gain a lot more by actually just like working on staying generally fit through the winter, as opposed to just, okay, season's around the corner, 2 weeks from now, got to start my stretches and my mobility routine. Like, the only way that it's going to help you is if you started it at the end of last season and you've been keeping it up consistently, right? That's the biggest thing that matters. But I would argue that just staying generally strong is, and having like some type of resistance training program or fitness program throughout the off season would be significantly more important than stretching.
100%.
Yeah. Okay. What about, we talked about this like last week when we were shooting one. It's a little bit of an echo chamber in here, but like, we'll see what happens. What do you think is more important early in the season? Somebody's technical abilities or their body's capacity? So what I mean by that is, if someone has the ability to last really easily 18 holes, not run into any issues, or if they're coming in, didn't really do a whole lot, but their technical game is like on point going into that first round of the season.
From a performance perspective, probably the technical. From a longevity standpoint, your capacity, right? Like, I think like if your goal is to just score low, and if you're a potato all winter, right, and you just want to go out and score low, sure, maybe you can do it for a little bit. Like, I don't know, John Daly is defying everything to do with capacity, but that guy's a different animal.
But if you're talking about stuff like that, he's still golfing all of the time, right? And if you're not walking, then really what is there to have capacity on? It's your swing. So I wouldn't say that John Daly goes against that necessarily, because he is golfing all the time, right?
For sure.
So yeah, I don't know what necessarily you're talking about.
So we're talking, I think Tyler kind of hit the nail on the head. It's like, are you going for performance?
Yeah.
Technical ability is probably going to be a little bit more important. If you're going for longevity of like, oh, here comes that hip issue, or here comes that golfer's elbow, I think developing some resilience through your body for that is probably a little bit more important than, okay, at what angle am I like, bending my wrist during a swing or something, So I guess that could have been a little bit more clear, but I think that's probably
I think for like something for me, right? Like we're in Canada, and I know, Justin, you're in the sim a lot more than I've been, but I find every time I get in the simulator, I do it like maybe 3-4 times a year. Like, my whole left side is all jacked up.
Do you swing right or swing left?
I swing right, but it's from chunking the ball into the ground, right?
Okay, yeah.
Because and like trying to like catch, like, in, you have to swing different at a simulator, right? Than you do like on the actual course. So it's like, and then I get out to the course and I don't find I have that as much, right?
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely better and worse simulators, and so this is one of the things. I got irons that are like I shouldn't have. They're kind of pretty bladey, which means that they're less forgiving, and you really need to hit it like square in the sweet spot. But in the simulator, you can actually feel, because I'm so used to feeling the bad hits, you don't fall into those bad habits as much. Like I know when I hit it fat, like I know that that's going to be a chunky shot when I'm in the, or I know it's going to be a thin shot, or I know this and I know that. So that's the one good thing about playing irons that are too advanced for you. But yeah, I mean, I don't know. I always think ball first anyway, so I usually chirp people who complain about that. I'm like, well, you should be hitting the ball first anyways.
You really should. Yeah, for sure.
Not this guy.
You're lucky you can come near the ball.
I didn't even mention my handicap.
Yeah, how'd you get away with that? Eh?
Well, let's put it this way. I think like my absolute all-time low is like 104 or 105.
On 9, right?
No, on 18. On 9.
If you played 20 rounds, your top 8, you're probably like a 35, 33.
Yeah, I would probably say, like, I'm just so inconsistent. I don't play enough. But, yeah, even when we were playing, this was during COVID when we finally got to get out there after a little while. And I got to a point where I actually sat out a hole. I was like, you know what? You guys go on without me. I need to regroup and recoup here. And I think in the long haul, that was probably better for my self-confidence and
mental health.
Yeah, mental health. And yeah,
we've all been there.
That's funny.
We'll see, like, I always viewed golf as the thing you're technically supposed to do in the summer when you're off of hockey season. But my hockey season was 24/7 year round, so I never even got into golf. So I really felt behind, and I'm a goalie, so yeah, a little bit weird, but yeah. Well, so we kind of talked a little bit about like capacity and beyond just like some of the technical things, and you were talking about like longevity. What do you think are kind of like the biggest things that go wrong for people? Like obviously there's common injuries. We can talk back pain. We can talk, why don't you actually give us a list of like some of the common things and injuries and occurrences that happen in a golf season and maybe why?
Well, back pain's number one, right? Like you're going to see back pain. You see it all the time, every year. Like we got people coming in the spring into the clinic. Yeah, just started golfing. I played 3 rounds on the weekend and my back is already thrown out, right? If people are... Like it all depends on their lifestyle factors, what they do for work, if they do other recreational activities. But if they're not out doing any sort of physical activity and they're trying to swing out of their shoes on that first tee, right, not even getting a range session in, then yeah, there's a lot of rotation, a lot of torque, a lot of power that goes through the low back, and your hips are the primary generator, which can transfer all the way from your feet too, right? So it's got to go somewhere, and if those mechanics aren't dialed in, right, from like that technical perspective, which most of us really aren't as amateurs,
right,
then you see a lot of that back pain right off the hop.
Yeah. Yeah, I feel like that's probably one of the biggest complaints that people get, and like kind of made me chuckle. Like 3 rounds in the first weekend of the season. That's like, I like to make the joke just to piss people off that I say golf's not a sport, it's a pastime, it's a hobby, right? But like you said, there's actually quite a bit of torque. There's a big performance aspect on a swing that people underrate. Like we did a video a while back before the snow came about shoveling and how like people always hurt themselves shoveling. It's not that they're shoveling wrong or they're doing this. It's like they haven't shoveled for an entire year. And so like you're saying, if you're just sitting on the couch, not doing any type of golf, and then you play 3 rounds in a weekend, like no wonder your back's going to be sore. That's a lot of stuff going on in there.
Yeah.
Like
think about how many reps you're doing when you're shoveling, right? And then like, I guess subtract the putts. You're probably, depending on how good you are, doing 60, 70, 80 really hard swings, rotations, right? After doing nothing. So too much, too soon, too fast, as always.
Yeah.
Beginning of the season is always going to be that way. But we can talk more about the mechanics, I suppose, when we can go back to the lower back stuff. But I think forearms, epicondylitis, whether it's golfers or tennis elbow for golf, is one that you see a lot, and it's just one that doesn't seem to go away.
It could take a year. It could linger longer, right? It's those are stubborn tendon injuries, right? So
usually it just feels better enough for you to resume your activities, but doesn't go away, and then doesn't go away for a long time, and then one day you realize that it is gone. You just kind of were living with it for so long, but then you're like, oh, hey, it doesn't hurt anymore. I forgot.
Yeah. I just got over
my
medial epicondylitis probably like, I don't know, maybe a couple months ago, 2
Yeah.
months ago maybe.
Yeah.
And it was something that never really fully bothered me that much. It was like a 2 out of 10, but just the odd time it would kind of spike up to that like 6 out of 10 sort of discomfort.
Yeah.
I probably had it for like, it was around for about like a year and a half.
Yeah. That's one that you hear a lot from people, and if you haven't had it, you are not very empathetic about it, because it's like, oh, it's your forearm, like, but then you do have it, and you're like, why is this so debilitating? I can't, like, anything I try to do, it hurts so much. I actually found that I got it more when I stopped weightlifting as much. So it's specifically like a clean, because I'm no longer exploring this position frequently, which, you know, stretches things out a little bit, and then this position started to hurt because I never did it anymore. Because this started to hurt because of golf or whatever, and then I never did cleans. But then when I go back to cleans, right, I never had it when I was. So I think that's kind of what's important to do. Like, the reason why doing as many different types of exercises as you can is important, and not just avoiding certain specific things. You know, a lot of people avoid front squats or the front rack position because it's uncomfortable on their wrist, or they don't have the mobility flexibility. It's something that there is benefit to work on. Yeah.
100%.
Yeah. I don't know if you want to like expand on, for like, if someone didn't know what medial epicondylitis was, in terms of.
It's just inflammation of the inside of your elbow, right at the tendon, right? You have your common insertion from your wrist flexors, and they will insert on the inside of your elbow, and it become painful sometimes from a lack of a stimulus, right? Like whenever we're doing histories and stuff at the clinic, we're always asking, hey, change in routine. Have you added anything? Have you taken anything away, right? Whether that's an exercise routine or daily life, right? There's so many different variables that can kind of come into play. Because I would agree with Justin too. Like, there's moments in life where you got to take stuff out because just lack of time, right? And I notice, hey, I'm not training my forearms as much as I used to. Like, I need to just start doing that. I need to start train my arms again, right? Because I've just been slacking on that for a couple of years. The stimulus, train those things at the end range of motion, and you can avoid those flare-ups, especially in a tendon, because it's usually like a lot of load that we've sort of already been harping on already, right? It's that capacity is just not there.
Yeah, and the problem is you only think about doing those exercises when you're in pain, and that's typically when it's the hardest to do those exercises. If your forearm is not in pain, you never think about doing, oh, I should strengthen my forearms. Like, that's when you should be doing it, so that you can avoid it when it does potentially come. But I'd like to get your guys' two thoughts on, for tendinitis type of injuries, and I guess loading style, concentric, eccentric, isometric, and in shortened muscle length or lengthened muscle length, those types of things. Yeah.
So Kevin and I were actually having a conversation about this like a handful of weeks ago, and the former consensus was do like really heavy isometrics. Some people were talking about like slower eccentrics in the lengthening position, and that was kind of like at the forefront of the tendon rehab sort of continuum or the consensus. But what's come out now is it doesn't really make that big of a difference whether it's concentric, isometric, or eccentric, meaning muscle shortening, muscle staying same length and just holding the position, or muscle being stretched out while we move. The only thing that matters is that you're getting enough load on the tendon itself. Heavy enough to, or tense enough, whether, because like you could even say this would be one of those situations where maybe doing like a really aggressive stretch to put some extra tension on the tendon might actually be beneficial to load it up. So at the end of the day, it's if you're loading the tendon, it can then rebuild itself and adapt and get a little bit stronger.
So it might be like a front rack position.
Right. But ultimately what I would say to that is, regardless of which one you're doing, if you are loading it enough, do the thing that's probably the most, I don't want to give people an out and say you shouldn't do things that don't feel good, but like if there's something that's a little bit more doable and more comfortable, then start with that and work your way into the more or the less comfortable movements. That would be my thoughts on that.
Yeah, people usually think rehab, light, right? But, you know, something like your forearm is really strong, right? So like a 10-pound, it's not going to do that much.
Yeah, and it might hurt, but
yeah.
Honestly, like heavy farmer's carries, right? Like love heavy farmer's carries for that. Like that's, I guess that's sort of like an isometric for your forearm, right? Like I love that. But then like for me lately, I know I've been like, my bias is going to like ballistic movements. I don't know why that's resonated with me lately, but I'm doing more running right now, and I'm just doing a lot more like pogos and like mini plyometric drills and my Achilles have never felt better. Right, and like I'm kind of like biasing like these end range, like sort of like ballistic, high velocity movements, and I don't know how that would translate to a forearm in a golf swing, but like with a golf swing, you're thinking, okay, like heavy farmer's carries, that's probably what I would go to.
Yeah, it's just like with the ballistic stuff, you're just exposing your tendons to stuff that you wouldn't normally expose it to outside of the context of running in that situation, right? And I think a lot of golfers are exposing their wrists and their forearms only when they golf, and then they're not using that anymore. So to be able to kind of train that stuff in the off season, build up that capacity like we were talking about, now all of a sudden you probably have a lot more reps, as in swings, in your tank without getting those issues. But ultimately, like, tendon injuries are, it's volume related, right? Like the common thing that people will say is like it's an overwork or overuse injury, which is fair enough. I think it's a mix of both over and underuse. I think that's probably a better way to put it.
Well, overuse relative to the underuse.
Right. Overuse relative to the capacity of the tissue, right? Yeah. But if you underuse it, now your tissue capacity goes down, so it takes a lot less to really hurt it. So the problem with the elbow, where you were talking about how it's like debilitating and it's really rough, is that you don't think about this, but like how many things you do in a day that require your dexterity and wrist movement and strength and gripping things so much. So you're adding that load that's probably not enough to allow for adaptation through the tendon, but it's enough to piss it off. It's enough to make it. So that's where like those, where you're talking like last a year and a half, it's because most of the things you do in a day is going to use it and potentially irritate it a little bit more. So that's that perfect blend of, okay, what can we maybe try to reduce so that we're not just poking the bruise, and what can we add in to make it stronger? Because like we just don't think about the elbow or the wrist in the same way. Like somebody who's got knee issues, maybe patellar tendon issues, what's the common thing? Okay, stop doing the impact stuff for a little bit. Okay, it feels better if I don't do that. That's a lot easier to kind of take out of your day-to-day, right? Which is why you can manage that a lot better. Let's take away all this excess stuff, really get the quad stronger, and they see better, quicker results. Shoulder tendon injuries, we're 2 years that I can keep going. All of this stuff that you just use, you sleep on your shoulder wrong and it hurts, right? Like, so that's why it can be really frustrating. Ultimately, I think if you actually, it's never too late to work on it, but if you are already just putting the work in advance, we could call it prehab, we could call it whatever we want, preparation, then you probably don't have to worry about this stuff happening in the long run. So
that's the hope, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Okay, I have a little segment here, and it's going to be a blind ranking. Okay, both of you guys can make your own list. Maybe you can write it down mentally or like write it down on a piece of paper, and then we'll compare your answers to this. 5 options, 1 through 5. This is called the injury speed run. So I'm going to list a number of things, and you're going to rank it with number 1 being, yeah, that's a good way to get a quick injury, and number 5 being the least sort of. You could be like, yeah, you could probably do that and be fine, right? So
sorry, this is like risk to injuries?
Risk to it, what you think.
Ranking?
Yeah, so the higher it goes, it's like, yeah, that would probably be something that I wouldn't recommend or like probably should avoid doing.
5 things?
5 things.
Are we talking about it or just writing it down?
I'm gonna get you guys to write it down, and then you can go through your list and talk it through. Okay, so first option. Ignore pain and keep pushing through the season.
And sorry, 5 is our worst.
Yeah, 5 is like whatever, that's okay to do. Okay. Hit 200 balls at the range on your first day out. Okay, next one. No warm up. So like you said, close the trunk, hit the first tee. Blind rankings are hard. Okay. 0 off-season strengthening. Couch bound from October till May. And then the last one. Too many beers. I think that's
during the round.
During the round, yeah.
During the round. Yeah, that's a catch-22, right? Because you can numb your pain and then, later.
Yeah.
For the consequences.
All right.
Like, you see the videos of the guys just flying up over the hills in their golf carts and it's just tipping over. Like,
I think I did perfect, by the way.
Okay, we'll find out.
But
just list down, and then you can give your list, and then
number 1, 0 off-season strengthening. Number 2, ignore pain. Number 3, hit 200 balls. Number 4, no warm-up. Number 5, too many beers.
You left that one.
I knew
that was perfect.
You're
like, there's got to be something that he's gonna. Yeah.
It doesn't matter.
Yeah. Okay.
I was super lame, and I honestly just went in order because I'm like, oh yeah, that's
bad.
Yeah, that's bad, right?
Oops,
like,
that's bad.
Yeah.
So you ignore pain 1, hit 200 balls.
200 balls, no warm up, 0 off-season training, too many beers to the blind ranking.
Well, like realistically, all of these things could contribute to some degree of you getting hurt in the air if you did it all the time.
You also need experience doing blind rankings.
Yeah. The first time blind ranking is hard. You hear the next one, you're like, I picked the wrong one. But okay, I think, could we probably all agree that too many beers in a round is number 5? Like, is that gonna cause an injury unless you've gone like way too many? That's dangerous.
We don't. Yeah. Well, it does say too many.
Okay. Yeah,
right?
that's fair.
To be fair, it doesn't say beers. It says too many beers.
Yeah. Okay.
But I guess that could be relative.
Yeah. So doing something stupid to get hurt, more likely when you do that, have too many beers.
Yeah.
What you said is like just numbing the pain and not even like really paying attention because you're so loosey-goosey. And then
I think that like in that context, if you think about like a car accident and people that drink and drive, if they're the ones that cause the accident, they don't get hurt as badly as the other victims.
This podcast took a dark turn.
No, I don't mean...
Yeah, no, I know.
This is typically the case.
Right.
Because they can't react, they can't tense up.
And guard.
And potentially the case if you have too many beers.
Yeah.
Golfing.
But
legally.
However.
With a safety D.
Yeah. The thing that I think is probably underlooked is if you're consistently going out like however many times a week that you're golfing and you're having too many beers every time you golf, you're not going to recover quite as good. That's terrible for your metabolic health and general health. So everything starts to go downhill related to that, right? That's more of a long-term thing.
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
like
you're doing it every time. Like, oh,
yeah, we're just talking about one time.
oh yeah.
Just
Just
one good weekend
one
of the
time.
summer.
We're just talking one
Yeah.
time.
Like, that's it.
Yeah. So yeah, that one's there. You put ignore pain at the top. You put ignore pain at number 2. So you're both kind of there. What was your reasoning for that?
I was thinking if you're already injured and then like if you're just ignoring it, it's never going to get better, right? Like, yeah, like there's circumstances where it can, but depending on what it is, right? My reasoning was, well, you're injured, you have pain. I think that's why you see so many guys out there later on in their golf careers where it's just all arm and shoulder, where there's zero rotation, right? They're like, oh, well,
Because it hurts too much.
Yeah, it hurts too much. I have a bad back, right? I identify with that, so I have a shoulder swing.
I identify as an injured back.
Well, you meet so many people, and that's their identity, right?
Yeah.
Like, I can't
Their
do
injury.
that. I have a bad back.
Yeah, that's a good point.
You can't do it.
I put ignore pain 2 because it was the first one you gave us, and I wanted to save the one spot. I do feel good about putting 0 off-season strengthening first.
Yeah.
It's kind of 1A, 1B. I mean, you're kind of an idiot if you if you're hurt and you keep doing it, right?
Yeah. I think it depends on what, because like there are certain things where it's like I got an ouchie boo boo and it is gonna self-resolve after like a week, and I don't have to really. But like where we're talking about golfer's elbow, just tendonitis issues, maybe more long-term chronic things. It's like sometimes people don't want to take the time off to resolve it because they're like, well, I can't miss out on my golf, but then they just keep going and make things worse, and then they just end up losing out on more golf down the line, or just having a terrible season that's not enjoyable because of it. So I mean, why not get in front of it? I think both of those go in line though too, like 0 off-season strength training. Well, if you did that, then you might not have to work through pain throughout the season. Not to say that you 100% wouldn't get hurt, but the odds are a little bit lower.
Yeah.
For sure. Yeah, I like what you said, Justin. The 1A, 1B for the both of those.
Yeah. And then we had like the 200 balls at a range on a first day out. Like,
yeah, I figured it might not hurt.
Yeah, some
you
people
might be fine.
Some people would be fine. Yeah.
A lot of variables into play there.
The act of doing that is not necessarily bad. It's the principle or the idea of it is like get yourself
how
prepared
many
and
are
ease
like
into
partial wedge shots? You know, you're doing probably more, like 50 partial wedges. Now we're looking at 150. I'm not swinging that hard that many times.
50 of those are on the putting green.
Yeah, exactly. Hit 200 balls, putt for the dough.
And then I don't remember the order that I said these in. I just went very random. But you had no warm up pretty low, and I would assume yours.
I'd admit.
Yeah, I had it at 4.
Yeah. Why?
I don't know. You can warm up on the first tee.
Sure. Yeah.
Warm up with your first beer. No. All right. To be serious though, like, I actually always, every opportunity I have, I go to the range, even to hit a few. To not warm up, it's not necessarily going to hurt you, right? And I think you can also manage it. You're not going to swing as hard as you can. Maybe some people might, but I certainly, if I didn't warm up, I'm not swinging as hard as I can on that first drive. And yeah, I mean, I don't know. I don't know if I've heard many people getting that hurt from not warming up. Most people don't warm up.
Yeah, no, I know.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Like, there's a level of preparedness. Again, like if you were just generally fit beforehand and prepared, you can, it's not so demanding that you're guaranteed to get hurt on your first couple of swings.
Yeah.
Not to mention that once you've got those first couple of swings and now you are warming up.
It kind of is self-balancing too, because the more susceptible you are to injury, the less fast you can swing, right? Probably.
I was
Yeah.
I was also going to say that you could almost look at it from the other side of things, where someone shows up and shoots 200 balls at the range before their first and now they're just completely fatigued.
I've
And
definitely done that.
yeah, I think golf is a little bit of a different game there. So
Yeah.
I thought you guys did pretty well at answering that.
Yeah, I think for me, putting it right in the middle, it's just like if I can get to the range and hit balls before, like I need to do that.
Yeah.
Right. If I can do that, or even I guess for golf, even thinking it like drain a couple putts.
Yeah.
To me, that's a warm up too, right? Just hearing the sound of the ball going in the hole.
Yeah.
I was going to say, I think the warm up, at least for me, is more psychological than anything.
Oh, 100%.
Just to get those reps in and feel a little bit more confident in myself, even though I have nothing to feel confident about. I think it's more psychological than actual like physical preparedness. So
I warm up for skill reasons, not for body reasons.
right.
Yeah.
Yeah, from the injury perspective. Okay, good chat. I have one final little bit of discussion point, and this could go literally any direction. And I'm just going to say what I wrote down here. You actually kind of mentioned it briefly. The John Daly paradox. So, John Daly. Anybody who knows golf knows who he is and what he is. How do you explain a unit like that being as good as that? Because here we are talking about how like you got to prepare in the off season. We're talking more from like an injury perspective, right? But like from a performance thing, like how does John Daly do it? And why should maybe people either emulate that or not?
I think he's just genetically gifted.
Yeah.
Right? Like he's just got those genetics, but like as Justin talked about earlier already, it's like he doesn't stop golfing. Right? Like as we're amateurs, we're not out on the course every day. Like he probably has his year where he's golfing every weekend, right? And some people can tolerate that lifestyle and just do it. Like I know for me, like after some people say like, hey, I need to get beers in me so I can improve my golf game. That's not me. I know after like if I have like one beer, it's like downhill. Like right, like it's.
Have
like,
you had 4 beers? So.
You got out of the pocket, you must get back in. Yeah.
So yeah, but like not to say that he was like crushing beers on the PGA when he was doing it, but like he was smoking a ton. The Diet Coke, I think it was regular Coke, right? Like we're like full sugar. I think he's into the diet stuff now. Whatever else he did, right? Like the nutrition, the body size, like it's pretty impressive what he's been able to do. But
yeah, from my perspective, I don't know much about like how successful he was. I know he won a major or multiple majors. I know he won tournaments. I don't know what his variability was like. And that's something that if I had to guess without knowing much about it, that's probably where there was like a big variance in like when he played poorly and when he played well.
Oh yeah, he fell off the map for a little bit. Probably for other reasons too, but
for sure.
So that's one thing in terms of like if you're that good naturally, or you learned golf growing up and you were that good, but then you took up these habits later on that are contradictory to performance, you could have good weekends and win tournaments, right? But then your floor is gonna be really low.
Yeah,
I don't know. Let's fact check this. He could just have been amazing all the time.
just had a boomer of a drive.
He was also ahead of his time with his drive nowadays. So he drove further than Tiger on average, I think, still. Not as accurate, probably, but further. And at that time was crazy. Okay, so the courses weren't set up for that, right? So you're probably, if you're having a good day driving, now you're hitting 100 yards into the green, even if it's from like a shallow rough, okay? Nowadays, if you hit a 350-yard drive on a par 4, you could still have 150, 160 yards into the green on a par 4, right? That's a great drive, but it's not a gimme wedge into the green, right? So it's harder nowadays because all the golfers can drive further. So there's that. I don't think John would be as successful nowadays because everyone is got the same, 300 to 350 drive consistently on the tour. But yeah, I mean, he could win. It's also golf.
Yeah.
Any given weekend, you could string four good rounds together and win.
I think where like the big thing with him is that because he's a little bit more in the spotlight, people will be like, see, look at him. He's super unhealthy. He, smokes all the time, drinks all the time, and he's one of the best golfers in the world. Mm-hmm. So that means I can do it too, right? And okay, so first of all, everybody on the tour right now, what percentage do they represent of golfers in the world? I don't know the stats, but like 0.001. Yeah. And then him as the Messiah or the Messiah. Guy, the Messiah, of unhealthiness. What percentage does he represent of the 0.01%, right? There's always going to be some genetic mutants, like you said, that doesn't necessarily mean that that's the way you can go. Another guy that I think of with this is like Phil Kessel in the NHL. Mm-hmm. He's like played a full career without almost ever getting hurt. You look at him and you're like, you kind of look like a bag of milk, but he was like one of the strongest guys in the gym. Phenomenal hockey career. Loved hot dogs and cookies. So like sometimes you get those outliers of just like you do work hard enough to some degree maybe, but even if you didn't, your genetics are just there, and then you put the time in to get good at the thing, right? Because like, I don't know, I think sometimes people, I forget what the name of the fallacy is, but you see a newspaper article of like, oh, this person lived to 120 and they said the secret was drinking Jack Daniels and smoking a pack of cigarettes a day. And it's like, okay, that was one person. You know why you didn't hear from all the others? Because they're probably all dead doing that, right? So yeah, you only hear about the one that made it, right? Yeah. So sometimes I think that's, and I think golf's probably headed in that right direction anyways. A lot of the golfers now are so fit. Like they are athletes. Yeah. So yeah, I think that's a little bit of a thing of the past, and he's a bit of a meme, like shooting balls over Niagara Falls or whatever. But yeah.
Oh yeah, he's just a bro.
Yeah. So that being said, any final thoughts about golf and heading into the next golf season?
No.
I would just say, it's never too late to prep for the golf season.
Yeah.
Get in the gym and get strong and make yourself more resilient for the upcoming season. It's going to be a good summer. Right? So.
Yeah. Okay. Awesome. Well, thanks for watching and listening, folks. If you like what you heard or watched, hit the like button, subscribe, share this with your friends, share this with golfers that need to hear this information so that they don't become the next John Daly in the bad way. But we'll catch you next time.